So yeah, today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies.
I love it. I'm so glad we're doing this one.
Superman Lives. It's directed by Tim Burton.
If you're a Batman fan, this one is like right with. It's like a companion.
Yeah,
piece.
it's like the companion. It's like the answer to Batman, and it's almost like, Tim Burton's like Batman isn't complete without his Superman.
Yeah, he's like so known for Batman, but then it took me by surprise. But very excited when the anticipation was huge.
Before we get too deep into it, this is Total Recall. This is the Superman Lives episode, and I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
I remember first having it teased when, like Kevin Smith, he was kind of like, hot off of like Clerks and all that kind of stuff, and then he was like enlisted to write the script for Superman Lives, and then like the script leaked, and it was like when like the internet, kind of like when I finally got my grubby little paws on the internet, that was like one of the first things I used, like Archie or Veronica or something, like to get a copy of this script, and like read the script and like was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And then it was kind of like the difference between like when we read the Sam Hamm like script like for Batman, and then when like his first draft, and then when like the actual Batman movie came out, like it was, you could see a lot of the bits and pieces, but there were like a lot of things different, a lot of things, or even like the difference between like the early drafts of Beetlejuice and then like the actual Beetlejuice movie, like whatever project Tim Burton comes in on, he gives it his, he puts it into his, brings it into his world, and this was no exception. A lot of the expectations were that it was going to be a lot more like Batman than it was. Like that, oh, this is going to be a goth Superman, and is goth Superman really going to work? And it wasn't. Like to his credit, Tim Burton was like so associated with goth, and like so much of his personal taste was goth. But he sort of saw the writing on the wall, and he did transition out of that. And Superman Lives was kind of like the stepping stone. It was sort of transitional, and it's almost like it was almost symbolic in a way that like this like sort of goth era was coming to a close, because it does sort of start like you start with sort of like a classical Superman, and then it gets dark. You have like a very dark villain in the form of Doomsday. And then you have you have the death. Superman dies. It's like very goth, very very, like and this like violent fight between very edgy kind of stuff.
Doomsday.
And then darkness like really kind of descends on. Have all these like sort of like, is this gonna be the new Superman? Is this and like all this sort of like darkness, and you have like the Superman's funeral, and then like one of the things that was in the Kevin Smith script, and then like I was so glad to see it like make it to the screen, was Batman's little video at the funeral, like when like, and it's Michael Keaton.
Dude, oh my god! And you know what? Brilliant casting too on Doomsday.
Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen more of like the extended Justice League at the funeral. But I guess like. It was probably one of those deals where they were all kind of licensed out here.
When that TV popped up and Michael Keaton, like, I just saw those lips, that crease there, that like, if I can close my eyes, I can will my lips into like Keaton-esque, and it was
like the highest paid cameo, the best compensated, less than a minute
he blew,
screen time.
Sean Connery from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves out of the water with that one. Because it was like, I think it was like $3 million. He donated a lot to a like local charity too, but I think he pocketed like.
Like as the movie goes on, and you sort of have this almost like angelic or whatever, like Superman who eventually comes. So it felt like we were going through, like Tim Burton was kind of working his way through his like goth, and then off towards like this sort of more kind of like day glow, colorful, so that you would see in like Big Fish, or where like I don't think Big Fish even had like any night scenes.
Yeah, no. Tim Burton likes to keep his like like stable of like players.
Yeah.
We mentioned Beetlejuice. For Doomsday, he cast Alec Baldwin as Doomsday. What do you think? Like,
well, because it's like, okay, coming off of Beetlejuice, like Alec Baldwin would have made like an ideal Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's to Tim Burton's credit that he didn't go the obvious and went with Michael Keaton and so brilliantly. And then it's like, even at this time, Alec Baldwin would have made a great Superman.
Yeah,
but it's like Nick Cage, like again, like these offbeat choices that end up being like so right, so perfect. And so so it's like, I got the goofy looking guy is going to be Superman, and then like the Ken doll, or whatever,
like the
is
matinee idol.
Yeah, it's going to be the monster.
But I think like he was playing the monster, but like he was like, imagine that's a paparazzi's camera, like, or like imagine he's been following you all day, and like I want you to smash Superman like you smashed those paparazzi.
Or imagine that Superman is the stewardess who took away your Words with Friends.
You took
game.
your Words with Friends game, and
talk about how like this was like a transitional movie for Tim Burton. I feel like it was like a transitional movie for Alec Baldwin, because it wasn't too many years later that real life Alec Baldwin did start looking like Doomsday.
Yeah, he did. He was like walking around New York City with like jagged shit coming out of his face.
The part of Superman Lives that is like kind of like my favorite, and I think like a lot of people, it's like,
I think I know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
All the split screen stuff of like Nick Cage as like the various like Superman clones and various like alternate versions of Superman show. Like that was like Face Off or something, where it's like, okay,
yeah, that was around the time like he was still in that mode. Batman, very dark. The next thing that was like jet black was like that mullet on Nick Cage.
Yeah,
beautiful. And, like I think he was using shoe polish to like get the tone on that.
Well, because I mean he has the mullet, and then he dies, and then so many of those sort of like Superman contenders, all those people where it's like, okay, there's like the cyborg Superman, which one's the real Superman and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when he sort of like when he like reveals himself as like the true Superman, it's like very classic, like it's almost Christopher Reeve, and we kind of like get there by like degrees,
Yeah,
this like classical. It was almost like Tim Burton was like kind of like saying goodbye to like a like a cinema movement that he himself started. It's kind of like I'm shedding the things of youth or like the particulars of like my journey, and then I. Embracing like a more like universal or classical kind. I thought he was going to like reinvent things way more than he did, and it seems like he saved his like reinventions and his Burtonisms for all those like alternate like he could get really crazy with all those alternate versions of Superman, but then like again like the pre-death stuff and then the return stuff. Like very very classical, and like I know like it was kind of like concurrent with the like the cartoon predates it a little bit, but like that the Superman Adventures cartoon like of the '90s, DC Comics was kind of pressuring them of like, we want the mullet, because the mullet was how Superman looked in the comics at that time. They're like, we want it consistent, and they were like, I don't think this mullet thing's gonna last.
Yeah,
I think we got to go classical. So they went with the short hair, and so with Tim Burton's one, like he starts out with the mullet, and but it's like I think it was kind of like he was sort of following that lead of like, no, like Superman is like he's gotta like end up at least in the like Superman's in this like sort of
weird that Superman did do a business in the front, part of the back joke like in the movie. But did you think it was gonna happen when it did, when Nick Cage gets an Oscar nomination for like the first like superhero guy that got an Oscar?
Yeah, it is, because it's almost like one of those things like how like the Beatles like never got a Grammy, while they were producing all their great stuff, but then it was kind of like they figure out ways to give Paul McCartney a Grammy or whatever, like
after the fact.
And I think this was almost like this is like, I mean I thought Nick Cage was great in it and so, but I think just the way these things work, I think he was getting Christopher Reeve's Oscar.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I didn't think about
and again he earned it. He did an amazing job. Like and I mean there are days where I like almost like Superman Lives more than the original Christopher Reeve Superman.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
But it's like it was like on the shoulders of giants.
giants.
Like it was like it just made it like a no-brainer to give like
and like that famous monologue, like pretty much what sealed like the deal on his Academy Award. I can't remember. It was like the hot dog stand monologue or something. Like
yeah,
that.
I mean,
What was
he had his Cage-isms in the movie,
I
but he
know!
still like he kind
Oh my
of
God.
made it like work for the Superman. Like it was like Superman with like a little bit of Nick Cage on the edges, and of course like when he like Clark Kent was like way more Nick Cage, that when he was Superman, it was kind of like it was kind of like the same way, the same effect that Superman just has this effect on people who like kind of like brings something else out in them. So the same effect that like dealing with the Superman character had on Tim Burton, it had on Nick Cage.
He was possessed, a man possessed. They like that it was like the hot dog stand monologue,
which again like a callback like because Superman 2. Lois is always kept asking like Clark to go get her a hot dog and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like,
I know it was like a callback. That is amazing. I didn't even make that connection. That was all.
well, I mean, I've watched this thing a million times.
You've seen it.
So.
I know you've seen this when Superman Lives more than I have.
Yeah. Chris Rock as Jimmy Olsen, and perfect,
Perfect
at the height of like Chris Rock's,
Oh my God.
fame and powers, and when he was just like kind of
Great
like really
casting in that. That was amazing. Chris, we're gonna roll film.
Yeah, it's some like the deleted scenes are some of the best.
best you've ever seen.
So hilarious. Like again, they really should have. I mean, like Jimmy Olsen. It's like easy to forget like what a popular Jimmy Olsen was such a popular character in the 50s. Like just like really standout character, and then he's like all right in the Christopher Reeve. Like he's good. He does this, but then like. Chris Rock kind of like reminds you, and like he could have just carried his own movie complete, and like if they had left all these deleted scenes in, it would have just been like the Jimmy Olsen story.
He was really laying into Doomsday. He was like, it was amazing.
Well, yeah, like a roast. You can like kind of like sort of skewer like the big monster, just sort of knowing that like Superman is between you and that monster. But then like when Superman dies, it's like and it looks like Doomsday is still rare, and then it's like one of those like sort of fake outs where it's like he just takes like a couple more steps.
I didn't see that coming, and like
because it was like okay, he just bulldozed over Superman, and now I guess I'll forget about like we're gonna just see like this and like maybe the Justice League or whatever gonna come, but it's like no, it's like that and it was like one of those like Tim Burton kind of like anticlimaxes, like kind of like fake outs, which like Batman had a lot of, and which we talk about like in Indiana Jones, where like where Indiana Jones shoots the swordsman.
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing where like you really think he's about, and then
Metropolis. That was big. Kind of like the Big Apple.
Yeah. It's interesting contrasting that with like again he probably like it's like okay I did Batman this way, now I'm going to do Superman this way, so it's like Batman was so like backlot and like its own little universe, but then like Superman was like it was like real locations and sunlit and kind of like this really nice meshing of like a bunch of different cities.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, like Batman, like that surreal kind of like uncanny valley kind of thing.
Yeah.
This one, because it's New York, all those cameos and everything were happening.
Yeah, Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Like kind of like before he like really started doing a lot of comedy.
He was ahead of it.
When we were like reading the Superman script, and you had like Telly Savalas, like it felt like Robert De Niro's cameo was kind of like a callback to like the Telly Savalas deleted scene script, like the Who Loves You bit. Like it was kind of like
he was saying like. Who's your daddy or something like that? Right. I can't. We looked right at the camera. He like spiked the camera when he did it. It was great. They huge get with like Howard Stern and the whack. What were your thoughts on the whack?
They are kind of like a real life version of the the sort of like circus characters that you'd have in like in Batman Returns.
Yeah, I'm like at first I was like, is this the Red Triangle circus gang? Like have they resurfaced again?
Yeah, and I guess like because Howard Stern's movie came out around this time too, so it was kind of it kind of looked like he was gonna become like the king of Hollywood. Like it was like, okay, he had
King
his
of all
movie.
media.
Yeah, king of all media. Now he's gonna be in like every, and then it was like his movie, this, and then that was it. Like I guess like because he's like a huge Superman fan.
He
you know,
is.
it makes sense that he'd be like, okay, like, I'm gonna say no to this, and this, but I'll do this.
I think the real reason they put him in, I mean, that was a real reason, but I think Tim Burton just saw, like, he's like, get me Beetlejuice, and they got him Beetlejuice, but they brought like the whole crew along with them.
Yeah, Beetlejuice. I mean, I couldn't picture anybody else playing Mixoplick other than Beetlejuice. I mean, like it is like kind of like another like Howard Stern adjacent. Like Gilbert Gottfried was playing Mixoplick on the cartoon. Like he was the voice of Mixoplick on the cartoon. But then, and so you would say, okay, you see Howard Stern, and you're like, okay, I guess Mixoplick's gonna pop up, and it's gonna be Gilbert Gottfried. But then Mixoplick pops up, and it's Beetlejuice.
It's Beetlejuice.
It's like forget, and it's like, well, okay, the guy who directed Beetlejuice has like the real Beetlejuice. Yeah,
it was like a big circle was complete.
Yeah, really beautiful, really
beautiful.
Like, and like again, you just think about like the way with Beetlejuice, like you kind of have to like feed him the line. So like for him to do all that stuff in it, and knowing that like behind the scenes,
I saw that Entertainment Tonight thing where he said that Beetlejuice. He like memorized all his lines. He wasn't getting them like fed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any like unless like it was like CGI or something. Kind of weaving these performances together.
Yeah, it was like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah. There was like a lot of wire work.
A million cameos and stuff, and then it's like, how do you top that?
Yeah, who was that one guy that was? He was the guy that like drove into the, like Superman's like when he was on that hot dog stand monologue. I
mean, that would have been a good one for. De Niro, kind of like but I guess that would maybe that's like how they brought De Niro in the first place was like, they wrote this like taxi driver scene and it's like, oh, wouldn't it be great, and he's like, it's whatever, you got anything else, and then they came up with that thing
like an old bait and switch.
It's like every couple of years they come out with some new like DVD set, Blu-ray set or whatever, so it's like every time there's like some added deleted scene.
I heard this one's gonna be Superman Lives. It's going to be on HBO Max here coming up.
The Burton cut.
The Burton cut is going to be on.
It would be funny if they did like a Smith cut, because I know like Kevin Smith wasn't happy with like the way, because again like his script was like very true to the comics and like it worked like to its it got you from point A to point B to point and so, but it's like obviously Burton like turned it into like his own thing and kind of like jettisoned some of the parts that like. Or maybe like more important to Kevin Smith, but
the that giant spider attack was amazing.
The giant spider, again, that famous giant spider that like that the producer insisted on, and then it's like I couldn't imagine a movie without it.
Like, I know he was right. Like
it's like what Burton did with like the whole like Kryptonian zoo. Like I love the advantage they took of the Fortress of Solitude, because like in the Christopher Reeve movies, it's pretty cool Fortress of Solitude, but like I would have like if they had like Richard Donner had continued making like the sequels, it would have been cool to branch out into like Fortress of Solitude and see like all the stuff we know from the comics, like and so in this it's like we get to see Superman's bestiary, see like all the weird animals from other planets and stuff.
Yeah.
So like that spider made total sense, and it did kind of like
that freaked me out. I had to cover my cover my eyes a couple times.
Starship Troopers before Starship Troopers.
Oh my God. Starship Troopers was definitely
based on a book that kind of predates this and stuff. So it's in Starship Troopers. It was kind of like, okay, like even Superman had a hard time against this thing. So like, what's just like an average Joe kind of soldier? What chance do they have again? So it did kind of like make them seem like that much more threatening in Starship Troopers, just having seen how
I didn't think Superman. I mean, and Nicolas Cage too. Like, I know he was in his during whenever he filmed this, he was in his like action hero kind of like role with like The Rock and like Face Off. Yeah, you can see like Con Air has some remnants of his mullet like in that.
I mean, I think he was hired like for the mullet.
Yeah,
and then like the excitement of seeing him without the mullet.
I know. They're like they're like, grow this fucking sick mullet, and we're gonna just get projects. Like we'll find.
Yeah, we'll do as much as we can with this mullet.
Yeah, they're like it's like there was like I think at like Touchstone and Warner Brothers there was like the Nicolas Cage like mullet file.
Wouldn't it be funny if like it's like all those like scenes where he's like classic like short-haired Superman if like they would have filmed those first. And it's like, okay, now we're gonna wait a couple of years for you to grow the mullet. And,
He was like,
they were smart to do it the other way around. Good on them.
And Tim Burton, like he personally, during every day for shooting, he would like personally like comb like the Grecian formula into his hair. Like that was so nice. I saw that at Entertainment Tonight.
When they announced, like, okay, Nick Cage as Superman, it's like, okay, that's impossible, that's crazy. But to me, it made total sense because, like, if you look at the way that Kurt Swan, who's like the Superman artist, like he drew Superman from like the 50s to the 80s. Like his Superman was like the like that was the look of Superman for like, decades. This huge, and it's like, if you look at him, it's Nick Cage. He's got like the same kind of shape of head, the kind of like it made like I was not, and also, having lived through like how's Mr. Mom gonna play Batman? It's like, okay, enough already. Let's give that a rest. And so when they announced Nicolas Cage, it's like Nicolas Cage is, you just cut the long hair off and you've got the Kurt Swan Superman. So and then it's like you see him like by the end of the movie, it's like, oh my God, they took 90s Superman and turned him into the Kurt Swan Superman. Like he really became like the embodiment of that. Like more so than like, okay, this is blasphemy or whatever, but like the Christopher Reeve Superman is like the Superman, it's great. But like the Nick Cage Superman is the comic book Superman. It is like that's what the Superman looked like in the comics for 50 years or whatever, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah, they got like that, such like that pure like distillation of Superman, and they found like a huge,
it's like straight off the page. And I think like Burton like knew he knew what people were going to be expecting from him, and he he must have felt like $1 million knowing like in his back pocket that like by the end of this movie you are going to see like the essence of Superman in like a way you've never seen it before, like and like that nobody was going to see. And I didn't see it. Like I had like an inkling of it just from like I said, like the Nick Cage, but like I didn't know it was going to be that spot on,
and you're right too. And Tim Burton, what a genius! The guy's brilliant. He was able to wrangle egos too. Don't you think it was weird that like you have Michael Keaton for a short amount of time was like he was like he's like, I want to play Superman.
Yeah, and like that's like I want to be I want to be Batman and I want to be Superman. That's like okay, Chris Evans is the Human Torch and he's Captain America. There was a point where like Wesley Snipes was Blade, but then he was also going to be the Black Panther for a while.
But it was like Michael, it's like
talk about split screen, like the split. I mean, where it's supposed like in those scenes where it's supposed to be like sort of like clones or like semi-clones of Superman. That makes sense, but it's like Batman is not supposed to be a clone of Superman. That would have been.
That was like he got a little greedy, a little too big for his britches. I mean. But we love Michael, but
Pittsburgh,
he won in every
hometown hero.
Yeah,
you could make an argument though, because in those old Superman comics, there would be like 1 million episodes where like there would be like 1 million comics where like the way Superman would get out of a jam or Batman would get out of a jam is they would just switch costumes. So like it's like and so then they try kryptonite on Superman. It's like, oh, it's not working on me. And then they try to shoot Batman and bullets bounce off, and then you realize, oh, they switched costumes.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, like, and I'm guessing that was Michael Keaton's argument.
Yeah.
But that like, hey, I'm being true to the source material.
Yeah, like he went, he sought out those like comic book like historians and artists, and like was like, trying to.
He was well versed in this stuff already. From Batman, so it's like he already had this stuff in his back pocket.
Had it in his back pocket, and also too, but he was doubling up. He was like, because he was like, I played Batman and Superman, because like there was like a camera, like somebody caught him on film, and he was like, yeah. He's like, he was going like this, like rubbing his fingers together.
So he's going to be the whole Justice League. He's going to play Wonder Woman too.
Yeah, we're huge.
He's
Michael
such an old kidder, He's like joke, probably some kind of like April Fool's joke or something. It's like, okay, he had all his like sort of comic book knowledge from, being Batman and studying Batman, but it's like, then you got Nicolas Cage, who's like, was like a huge comic book fan from day one, is to this day, like this only cement, but like like he knew all this Superman stuff backwards and forwards, like before any of this.
Yeah, like where I was reading something where they said that like on set every day he brought his like action comic, like he was letting like crew read it, like
his original, exactly. Man, I love
like he was like really being
well, because I mean,
with it.
you know, after this, like he was able, you know, he could like, you know, wallpaper his house with copies of Action Comics.
Yeah, but that was weird when there was that story with that guy in like gorilla suit. Like I don't know why he chokes me up. I get choked up thinking about it. Like I don't know why.
Well, because it was a serious part of the movie, but yeah, like the real story behind it's pretty funny. Like gorillas are kind of a big part of like classic Superman. You got like Titano, the super ape, you know, which is, you know, what you're referencing. But then, you know, the ape with kryptonite eyes. But then. You know, there's Detective Gorilla. Like, it's, you know, like they could have made like an entire like rogues gallery for Superman based on like all his like sort of gorilla adversaries.
Yeah, because Nick was really.
So, I mean, they had to have one.
I was so excited. That's like my favorite part. When I think I'm like we're talking about the spider and everything, I think that. I gravitate back to this.
It's fun. And again, like with the Marvel movies, they have this sort of like they have like a, you know, much more sophisticated CGI and like greater access to it and like all this like, you know, but like back then it's like you do have to kind of think, okay, how are we going to really pull this? So like, you know, like a gorilla, you know, it's like, okay,
it comes
practical.
through every time.
This movie had its share of CGI in it, but there was like so much practical. Like if this movie were made just like a couple years later, there would have been no practical. Like it would have been all CGI and it would have been much the worse for it. And I'm glad he got to get some stop motion because it's like we love the stop motion.
Love it.
The stop motion in the first Terminator, and then it's like we kind of got that stop motion for Brainiac, you know, like he kind of like that's like, and again it's like he wasn't able to do the stop motion in Mars Attacks, but like so glad like they were able to do, again like this, you know, just you have that huge budget, huge you know, special effects budget, so to get like I never in my wildest dreams would have thought I'd get like a stop motion and like a stop motion like 80s Brainiac, like
that
so
was
cool.
We like stunt casting, you know, we love stunt casting here, and like Brainiac, it was voiced like Tim Burton. He was like, the studio didn't really want it, but he pushed hard. It was Robin Leach. Like that was surprising.
Again, as like a comics fan, like I get it because it's like Robin Leach is almost like the real life Brainiac. Because like Brainiac would like go to all these different planets and like try to find like the coolest like houses and cities, and then like shrink them down and make this collection. So it's like it's out of the box thinking, but it makes total sense that like, you know,
I didn't see it that way.
Like, you know, like lifestyles of the rich and famous of Candor and Tim Burton. I know like he didn't start out as like a huge comics fan, but it's like just you go, you know, he does his homework and then going through the Batman stuff, it's like he was, you know, came out the other side of that stuff fully immersed and like really showed it with Superman Lives. Like people thought, oh, it's just going to be goth and zippers and rubber and black suits and
he knew which direction to go.
Johnny Depp and whatever.
Yeah,
Johnny Depp as the Toy Man. Like it totally like I mean. And then, you know, a couple years later, he does basically the same performance as Willy Wonka.
Yeah, like, I should have seen that. I was taken by surprise, but, you know, Johnny Depp's Tim Burton player.
I mean, I wonder if Johnny Depp was like, if he was bummed that he didn't get to be Superman, or if, like, maybe it's like, that's like a role he wouldn't even want. You know, it's like, I don't, like, that's too, like, I want to be the toy man. You know, like that, like the sort of off, and it is like he kind of went down that, like, you know, when was the last time he played like a face? You know? Yeah,
I don't think he was finished with his Toyman performance when he took that Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
like, he's like, I think there's still some meat on this bone.
I think he gave his best moments to Superman Lives
as Toyman.
Yes, as Toyman, but like, you know, it made sense like when they were making Willy Wonka to be like, okay, we want that guy as Willy, like we could totally see how Toyman would be Willy Wonka. So.
You know, he won the Oscar for Superman Lives and everything, and like the hot dog stand monologue was like,
again, picturing like Margot Kidder asking Clark Kent for a hot dog, and then like, you know, knowing like all these years later that like it would become this like famous
thing.
So, like that's just like almost like a throwaway in Superman 2, and then it becomes this like
huge
thing, cinema moment.
You know, you've watched it much more than I have. I've seen it enough, like, but when he did the famous hot dog stand monologue, the pieces of like classic literature, like Nick Cage, you know, he's he's always prepared. He does his research. He's like a genius. He makes great choices. Like actors' secrets to the set. Like,
sure, yeah.
What was he drawing
from the Coppola family?
From the great pedigree, but like, what was he drawing from? Like during that monologue.
I mean, just the obvious, like, just since we're on the subject of like the Coppola legacy or whatever, like, there's like Conrad's Heart of Darkness, kind of, there was that.
Oh yes! Oh my god!
That's like hero's journey kind of stuff.
I can't remember. He was pulling all kinds of like.
Yeah, and kind of getting like the essence of it, like not performance.
I don't know how he did it. Like true genius. Like
I fully expected to see Lisa Marie as but like I think I think Warner was like, okay, your girlfriend, she could be this character, but Lois Lane, we got to have some say over who's going to be Lois Lane. So Christina Ricci as Lois Lane, she pulled it off.
She did.
John Travolta wanted to be in this movie so bad, and like was probably like steamed that he could, he couldn't be in it. Nick Cage, it's like, come on, like, I played like the
Castor Troy.
I played Nick Cage's double in Face Off. Like, you got a million different Superman. Can I be one of them?
Yeah, we were talking about Sean Young went into Tim Burton's office and like made a plea.
Tried it.
John Travolta did the same thing, like making a plea for, I can't remember the character he was going to play. It was
the Parasite.
Parasite. I want to show you. I can play the Parasite, and he tried to he put his lips on Tim's like he was like, I'm gonna show you what a parasite is, and then it was weird, security had come and
it was very very eerily similar to the whole Sean Young Catwoman thing. It's like, okay,
gotta shoot his shot.
Sean Young didn't get to play Vicky Vale, and it's like, oh, okay, let her play Lois, but it's like, oh, it's like, oh man, if only she would have been great as Lois Lane.
Yeah.
It just didn't. I mean, how's she gonna compete against Christina Ricci in Tim Burton's eyes? It's kind of like, okay, but yeah, Christina Ricci,
great
man,
performance.
what a great Lois Lane. And it's like, look at, Noel Neill played Lois Lane in the 1950s Superman TV series, and she started in season 2. Season 1 was a different actress, and then Noel Neill came in. But Noel Neill was the original Lois Lane in the Superman serials. So those came out in the 40s, and then it was this 10-year gap, and then she plays Lois Lane in the TV series. But look at her in the serials, like young Noel Neill as Lois Lane, and it's it's pretty close to Christina Ricci.
Yes, you gotta
check those out. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're kind of people know the Christopher Reeve Superman. People know the 50s George Reeves Superman, but not a lot of people are plugged into the serial, the Kirk Allen serials. But I think they're amazing. They have it's kind of funny, the special effect. It does kind of remind me a little bit of some of the scenes in Superman Lives, but it's when Superman's flying or whatever.
Yeah.
It's animated, like Superman's an animated figure in those serials, and it's kind of a cool effect. It makes sense where it's at that point it's you've only known Superman as a cartoon character, as a comic, as a drawing, so it makes sense having the special effects be it's kind of and then you never see that again in except for the little
I'm gonna check those out whenever John Travolta was doing his weird plea for playing Parasite. He was as part of it. It was on. There was tape I saw in hard copy.
It's weird that because we have the tape of Sean Young kind of reenacting it on a talk show, but we've never seen the actual tape of Sean Young in the office. But it's funny that we're able to see.
Because he was I want to play Parasite so bad. He's I went to the bayou. I drank stagnant water. He's I filled my body. Parasite. He said he's filled his body with. He's imbued. He's they're heading to my heart. It was so.
Yeah, he really wanted that role. And he would again another had this movie been made a couple years or if it had been made right after the Christopher Reeve one, John Travolta might have been Superman.
Yeah,
might have been Superman. It's just
he was Adele Dazeem.
Yeah, and so
what you wouldn't learn about that till years
Well,
later.
it's that's why I realized when he mispronounced her name in that it was obviously a reference to Superman, but it's you gotta be pretty deep to get that joke, get that reference when it's referencing a a sort of bootleg recording of an audition scene that that's some deep fan
shit
stuff.
He only
it's almost who's making a joke to make himself laugh almost.
Yeah.
Like, he did, like, there aren't too many people who are like in the same gym.
John Travolta desperately auditioning to be Parasite,
Yeah.
but not getting
the role. Instead, it goes to John Goodman.
John Goodman,
Another
a John.
Superman Lives, one of my favorites.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't get enough. It's
part of movie history, and again, like
it's one of my like top 3 favorite Nicolas Cage.
Sure.
roles.
It's number one. It's like, because I love Superman, and then like Nick Cage is so great, and it's like
Oscar,
Nick Cage as Superman.
Yeah,
Oscar performance.
Oscar
yeah,
performance.
some people think like, oh, he didn't deserve, but like, no, come on. Superman is like, that's a tough role too. It's tough.
The end credits, there was that stinger after
Superman will not return.
They had that reunion at Comic-Con a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Nick Cage, like, if he did nothing else after this, he could have just kind of like lived off of, but like, so, but he did a bunch of other, did stuff for Marvel too. And it's like, when they're casting him as like Ghost Rider, for Marvel, it is kind of like, hey, Superman, Ghost Rider to us is what Superman,
And it got
is to
awkward
DC.
though, that one, like everyone's up on the panel, they're up there talking, the fans are loving it. It was like the energy in the room, but then like John Travolta, like when he came in like
where he's wearing a Superman outfit.
Yeah, he was wearing,
like he couldn't even keep his characters straight. He like forgot that he auditioned for the Parasite, and it was like
blood's gonna come out of my ears. It was a huge moment because like Nicolas Cage, like he famously, I don't know, he's like, because he was shooting movies, he couldn't make the last couple like things they tried to have for Superman Lives. But then when they got this big event together, and everyone was appreciative, but it was just weird when like John Travolta showed up, he came through like the back doors, and like he was like dressed as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was trying to take like the spotlight off of. He said he spent like $50,000 on like a super custom suit or something.
You know how Nicolas Cage always has where he's like, a guy who lives in a shack. When like Lois is like, wait a second, Superman disappears around the same time as Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think a guy who changes his clothes in a phone booth? It's like, okay, we got they had to do that at some point, and it was like the perfect moment.
He said he had a secret that he brought to set. He had like Jello. He kept putting in his pocket. He said, "This is my kryptonite."
Jello, kind of like
it was green Jello. But he kept
Jell-O,
like smearing it in his pocket. And he was like, "This is my kryptonite."
He's got like chocolate pudding, and he like smears it on his pants, and he's like, "This is my kryptonite." Kryptonite makes me shit myself. You think a guy who lives in the North Pole?
He's like, "This is my kryptonite, and the kryptonite makes me shit."
I mean, kryptonite's had all kind of, like, I could see red kryptonite making you shit because it's always got like unpredictable properties, but like green kryptonite.
Green kryptonite.
It's like people who like shit themselves before they die or whatever.
Yeah, I
Superman,
can't.
He didn't die from the green kryptonite yet, but
I still can't believe
Doomsday literally like punched the shit out of like where Superman actually like shits himself.
Yeah, that was and that was like that wasn't in the script. That was
That was an improv. That was an ad lib.
That was an ad lib.
That was an ass lib.
That was an ass lib. That was like Nicholas. He said he like there like there was behind the scene featurette where like Nicolas Cage is like they had some like. So they had gourmet stuff at like Crafty and stuff.
It was food poisoning, yeah.
Yeah, Doomsday, like he hit, the cameras were rolling and he punched Superman and he like completely evacuated his bowels.
And I guess it's like, Harrison Ford just kind of like as an ad lib pulls out his gun and bang, pretends to shoot the guy and they're like, we're using that. I guess it was like.
That was Nick.
We're using that.
He said he like in the moment, he's very present as an actor and he's like, he just let it happen, and he knew it was gonna happen. Because I remember there was that. I read that like Esquire interview with him when he said he just like let it go, and he even like said he's like he knew that the suit he was wearing that day was gonna like really it was
really
gonna
show it.
Show it.
Yeah, it's like I guess it's like because people would like that was always the thing of like, oh, why Superman wear red underwear over or whatever, and it's like. That's a diaper.
That's a diaper, yeah. He was like, because I saw in the end credits.
You never know when like a supervillain's gonna hit you so hard that
Yeah, you.
But it did make it like you know, as funny as it is, like thinking about it in retrospect, it did like really sell the moment of like, oh man, like Superman is done. Like,
He's finished.
This like we've crossed over into like, you know, totally different territory.
I'm so I mean, everyone's better off for it too.
Yeah.
But I still just can't get over John Travolta like coming into the Comic-Con like the back door in that outfit. That's so funny. I still watch the YouTube clips of it.
It's good. It's good stuff.
There was like all that cell phone footage.
He should get an Oscar for that, like to be next to, like
yeah.
Nicolas Cage has his Oscar for playing Superman, but like if they gave out Oscars for like YouTube clips or whatever,
that would be it.
This has been our Superman Lives episode of Total Recall. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli. Please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search Tom Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tune.
And you can follow the show on Twitter at Total Recall Show and on Instagram at Total_Recall_show. Superman Lives.
Forever.
A guy who changes his clothes in a phone booth.